Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Teach Me. Now this is a new one for me. I'm used to recording my own podcast, but I've been invited by two friends of mine today, Art and Kevin, to come along and really talk about this series that they're doing called Teach Me. And I think it's useful and informative to kind of ask your hosts a few questions. So I've come on as a guest appearance, but I'm the one asking the questions, trying to understand who our hosts are and what this podcast is all about. So over to you, Kevin. I guess the first question is, tell your listeners a little bit about yourself and why have you teamed up with Art to do this podcast?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for the introduction, Jay. I appreciate you. And we always have our little conversations about does pineapple belong on pizza, but that's for a conversation for another day. But yeah, I'm actually, so my name is Kevin Apolinario, and I'm not gonna go in depth because I have a lot of information and my background is too much. But basically, I've been in IT for about 9 years, but before that, I did 12 years at a restaurant and 4 years in NYPD volunteer. And I use my soft skills to transfer over to IT because a lot of jobs, if you actually go into IT and we talk about IT, you gotta have soft skills. Soft skills are very important, and actually technical skills are important too, but soft skills are much more important in my opinion when it comes to talking to executives and C-level folks and just having a conversation overall. Like, can I work with this person, or am I gonna strangle this person because they're a jerk, right? So it's very important that you have good customer service. So the reason why I partner with Art is because me and him relate to each other because we do agree with one another, and we agree about the cybersecurity space, and just we agree about having good soft skills, having communication skills, um, being able to listen, being a team player. And we teamed up because we not only we know a lot of people that are similar, we know other people that we connected that are similar to what we do, but we also want to educate people and get them involved, and people learn about cybersecurity and IT, and just to show you that you don't have to be anyone special to get into IT or cybersecurity. You could be a regular person. You don't got to be smart. You don't got to be a genius. You don't got to know math. Anyone could get into IT, which is why we created this podcast. And that's a little bit about me in general. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's really useful. I mean, I know you do an awful lot for the industry. I know you're very active on LinkedIn. I know you've got a lot of connections. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for you and what you've done, and I've also got an awful lot of respect for Art as well. So it's great to see you teaming up to do this. But I guess, Art, over to you. What's your background, and what was it about Kevin that kind of drove you to join in at the hip, really, with this podcast?
Yeah, so I am really excited about working with Kevin because both of us come at problems from completely different backgrounds and perspectives, and both of us love helping people and answering questions. So we thought that this would kind of make sense as a forum where we could answer questions for people that are in IT or cybersecurity and want an answer, whether it's a technical answer or how do I deal with my boss, or how do I present this to the executives, or whether it's how do I implement this practice, or what's the best practice around this, that kind of thing. We can come together and come up with solutions. And I love that about Kevin is that he has such a breadth of experience in his life that he's able to come with really rich answers for people. And I feel like my technical experience, my business experience gives me kind of a real breadth there. So we're able to come together and really help people. And that's what this is really about. Is I know there's so many people with questions. And yeah, there's Google. Yeah, there's, you can ask ChatGPT all you want, but something just doesn't replace just asking a person a question. And we wanted to create a forum where people could do that.
I think that's really fundamentally a really good idea. I like it. I mean, it's not because I know you both. I mean, I've met you both, and I know we disagree slightly about pineapple on pizza. I don't with Kevin, by the way. I think Kevin's got the right idea. But I mean, I know you. I know what Kevin's able to bring to the table, and I know he's already helping loads and loads of people. I know what you're able to bring to the table, and I think really that is a bit of a match made in heaven. I think you do have things that you think about very similarly, but you also have different backgrounds, so you can bring different things. So how is it going to work? I mean, what is the real aim of the podcast, and how is it going to work, and how do people submit questions, and kind of those kind of logistics? How's that going to work?
Yeah, we have a form for people to ask questions, and the idea is if they if it's a sensitive question or they're embarrassed to kind of, reveal who they are, they can ask anonymously, and we can just read their questions. But it's great if we have a guest. If we have somebody here who's actually willing to have a discussion, and it can be a back and forth where they continue to ask follow-up questions, and they really come to an understanding, or we come to an understanding of their real situation during that discussion. That would be great to have them on. So we have this form, and it's basically, are you willing to, come on? What are your questions, etc. And then we choose guests from that form. So when we post about the podcast on LinkedIn, we give the link to the form, and it gives people an opportunity to come in. And it's really any experience level, any situation. And if it's someone in advance that I know that I'm way out of my depth on, I can pull in another expert. We have a wide network, so if somebody's asking specific SSE questions, I'll pull in you, Jay. If there's somebody who's asking a lot of zero trust questions, I can pull in somebody like Chase. Our network gives us that ability to bring in the help that people need. And that's really kind of what I envision doing on the podcast.
So really this is all about helping people. I know that the title of the podcast is Teach Me, but really it's Help Me. It's about helping others. It's about really building on what Kevin is already doing in the industry and what you're already doing in the industry. I mean, as you know, I talk a lot about burnout and mental health and all of those things, and how difficult it is for us to live in this cyber community we live in. And it's people like yourselves that I've got an awful lot of respect for, that are giving up your time and your resources to help others. So Kevin, I guess a question for you. Where is this podcast going to be available? What platforms do you intend to put it on? Is it just audio? Is it just video? What are you going to do about releasing it?
It's going to be everywhere, man. It's going to be everywhere. That's the point of it, because the more reach we can get, the better. Like, if because I wanted to go to everyone, because it shouldn't be limited. Like, why make it limited? It doesn't make any sense. So it should go to everyone, and people should take the advantage of it if they hear it or they listen. So
yeah, and I think the good thing is Art said that you're able to call in other people, you're able to call in friends of the community, people you've met, connections. So this could really appeal to somebody trying to enter into cyber or IT, or it could be someone that's been in IT for a period of time. They're a senior manager, and maybe they've got budget questions or resource questions or all those kind of things. So for me, it's super exciting to see you guys doing this. It's super exciting that you're teaming up, two people that I really, really like. I can't wait to listen to your first episode and see what kind of questions you get asked. And I'm sure if you asked me to come on and be a guest, I'd be more than welcome to do that. I'm more than happy to do that. Okay, guys, so I'm super excited to see you guys kind of coming together on this podcast. I've got a lot of respect for both of you. I love what you've been doing independently in the industry, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do together. I guess before we go, I mean, I should really kick off by asking you both a question, right? So you can teach me something. So let's go to you, Kevin, first. What would be your one piece of advice that you could give to someone starting out in either IT or cyber?
Yeah, for me, it's always going to be like having the willingness not to give up, because when you're brand new to IT, you're going to get a lot of rejections, especially when you have no experience. When you're brand new to IT, it's going to happen a lot. So you prepare your mindset for rejection. That's how I train my students. I train them to prepare themselves for rejections. You're going to get rejected a lot when you have no experience at all on that resume, which is why I talk about home labs. But also, it's important that you have the right mindset going into IT. So those things are very important. That's going to be my I guess my 2 cents, if that makes sense.
And I think, to be honest, the right mindset's a brilliant one. So thank you for that. I've learned something new. I guess, Art, over to you. My question to you is, can you just share a memorable story about an experience of mentoring someone? Did it go positively? Was it a success? Just share that with us.
Yeah, I have a feeling that almost every mentorship relationship ends up being a success, but there's always stumbles and embarrassments along the way. And I think some of the most memorable moments that I've had have been when really I was kind of almost embarrassed as a leader. where I was like, hey, I'm really going at this the wrong way. And really, it's a learning experience for me as much as the person I'm mentoring. But I remember there was a particular person who was fresh out of college and had no experience in practical like IT. But I was throwing this guy at all of the certification training, making him run the gauntlet. In addition to, MSP work, which was a grind of solid tickets and configuring firewalls one day and configuring servers the next day and hardening this and that. It was just something different all the time. And the guy's skill set was constantly being challenged. And he had none of these skills from college. Like, college taught him digital forensics. And he came into an MSP and was being forced to learn cloud administration and VMware and backups and firewall administration and everything. So it was really kind of grueling what I put this guy through. And, it taught me a lot about really kind of how stupid I can be, because, just by throwing everything at this person who seems promising and really driving them away. So in the end, the person left the company because, pretty much I put him through a year of constant hell. But I also leveled up his skill set to the point where he was able to get a job for probably 5 times what we were able to pay. And, with the platform that we created for him in skills, he actually refers people to us all the time and says, I would have never learned what I know now if I hadn't worked at Airiam and done these things. So, it's a double-edged sword. I train somebody up to be able to leave and be more effective and get paid more than you ever could at my company. And I also kind of put them under an amount of stress that's you never should as a leader or an employer, but at the same time, I'm celebrating his success because he now is making an incredible amount of money in an awesome job, working for someone else. So that's just kind of my memorable story as a mentor, and it taught me a lot about really, pushing people too hard and really kind of what's practical. But it also showed me that, when you do kind of force feed, you do prepare somebody for a better position. Whether it's internally or with another company. And if we had internal opportunities that then we could say, okay, you have just, 5x yourself. Now we can put you in this other position and really pay you what you're worth. That would have been awesome if I had been able to provide that opportunity. But what it really taught me is that I need to step back and look at people and really not just force feed them because I see a lot of potential.
I think that's a very good learning experience, and that's something I think the listeners could definitely take on board is, yes, you need to push people as a mentor. It's part of the role. It's part of what you're doing. You need to advise them and you need to encourage them, but you also need to know where their limits are. And you've obviously learned that. So, I mean, I want to thank you again. Thank you for having me on. I can't wait to listen to the first episode. Like, I'm more than happy to come on if you or if you want to ask me any questions. You want anyone in my network to come on. Everybody loves you guys. I'm sure the listeners are going to love you guys as well. So again, thank you for having me as a guest.
Thank you, Jay. And Jay, I know that you did not ask for this, but I appreciate that you came on. And Jay, if you could just kind of briefly tell our audience what you do in addition to help people that are launching new podcast series.
Okay, so I am a field CTO for Hewlett Packard Enterprises, but I've spent most of my career on the customer side. So really what I do in my corporate job, I guess, is kind of match potential customers up with solutions. But what I'm really, really passionate about and how I met you both was I have a podcast. Myself and a fellow friend of mine called John Spiegel run a podcast, and we run the SSE forum. So we talk about all things cyber. We talk about not only the technology elements, but we talk about the human elements. The podcast is called The Edge, and you can find it, as Kevin said, everywhere. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple. And I guess what excites me about it is being able to meet people like yourselves, being able to make friends with people like yourselves, being able to class you guys is not just people I would meet in the street, but people I will give a hug to when I meet them, and people I can share pizza with, whether you want pineapple on it or not. So that's, I'm definitely passionate about technology as a whole and zero trust. So again, it gives me the opportunity of doing stuff like this. So thank you.
Thank you. And everybody who's listening, make sure you check out the SSE Forum podcast. It's amazing. There's some great guests on there. So thanks everybody for your time today, and all our listeners, thanks for tuning in. This was a great discussion. Please subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. New episodes will typically be coming out every other Wednesday. And for more information, go to www.airiam.com. Thanks.